As the novice magician purifies, they become an empty chalice. Their body becomes a neutral vessel, a living vessel. Within this vessel is also emphasized the power of the hand, the power of the voice, the power of the eye, and the power of stance. With increasing purification, these powers are neutral, yet primed and ready for taking on or inducing a precise charge, a precise aim, and therefore a precise generation of image within the world. A chalice is a cup that holds nourishment. We may call this nourishment water or wine, or today I am calling the press within the chalice nectar. What the chalice holds may be something poured in or received from outside the vessel, yet also the magician may alchemize an elixir that emerges from within, like a sap. The nectar is born from both body and deep nature, and nourishes both body and deep nature. A mystical wine. I now introduce you to a power of the magician called cognition. Cognition is an emergent nectar within the purified chalice that is the magician. Like all magicians' powers, cognition is natural to being human. However, often humans are unaware and disconnected from their own power. A magician recovers awareness and connection with themselves and with their earth siblings. Therefore, the powers within themselves and those they access through knowledge become fruitful once again. Cognition is a synergy woven from input threads, including but not limited to encounters with others and what plays out there, as well as signal intake from bodily senses. This raw input material is then sewn together with the threads of thought, the magician's thought. Thought is thus also an emphasized power for the magician. Thought and how thought catalyzes the nectar of cognition from the basket of raw energetics at the magician's disposal, all within the living and clear cup that is the purified magician. Cognition is a step or section of the magical formula that results in the creation of appearance, of world, and experience. I will talk a great deal more ongoing within the Keys of Magic series about principle and method specifics for both the magician's thought and cognition. In this video, I would simply like to give some prologue inspiration. Always remember that alongside learning and wielding method, we are also engaging archetypally. So when I say powers of a magician, yes, I am talking about skill or the potential for it, but I'm also talking about archetypal emphasis. And what this means is that as a human progresses through time and eternity through the archetypal path, and the curriculum and alchemy available at each station, there are going to be certain emphases and revelation at each station. You want to avail yourself not only of the methodical skill of the station, but what that particular arcana has the power to reveal about who and what you are in time and eternity. This Keys of Magic series is unfolding to you the arcana of the magician, and hopefully giving you the guidance of unfolding the magician arcana within you in real time, if you're ready for it, if it calls to you and interests you. One of the things that the Fool station does, the Fool arcana being immediately preceding the magician, is to release and undo all of the meaning of one's previous life, which represents the minor arcana. And one returns to the surrendered and meaningless state of an infant, which also reflects the meaningless state of the changeable multi-metaverse. The Fool's sacrifice of the gain in the minor arcana prepares one for the reception of the meaning of the major arcana. I invite you to check out my series on my channel called Keys of Karma, where I do go into the base meaninglessness of the universe. Here in the Keys of Magic, I refer to meaning as deception and as enchantment and game, and invite you as the magician to become undeceived, which is to divest yourself of meaning and interpretation. Meaning is not inherent within the universe. Meaning is created by creators, and thus is changeable, and can be undone to no meaning again. The earth does have some meaning, but that's because earth has been purposefully and intentionally built by creators. So the magician preserves the baseline meaninglessness that was surrendered to as the Fool, and in fact sharpens that to understand how blank the canvas is. The canvas is blank. There's nothing there. The images and properties that constitute the world are illusions. And don't worry, as a novice, you don't have to hold all that yet. It's okay to have meaning right now. You can't let go of all that at once and stay sane. The magician grows incrementally in mastery of stripping the universe back to its bare bones, which turns out to be nothing at all. Which also brings about the condition that anything and everything can be called, can be changed, can be caused to appear, can be woven, can be invested with meaning. The magician prefers. The magician sharpens this capacity for meaning creation. In the magic of cognition, the magician both formulates the image as well as invests meaning within the image. Both appearance and enchantment are cognated as the nectar within the chalice that is the magician. That wouldn't be the final step. The cognition may be projected into earth. Doesn't have to be. Again, I will be talking about all this, how to do it, etc., as we go along. And P.S., please do not equate cognition with visualization. Visualization may or may not be an element of cognition, depending on the art and or preference of the magician, as well as the condition formula involved. Magic is the inducement of change. The magician induces change with their powers. Change may be induced by hand, by eye, by voice, even by stance. And now I have introduced to you that the magician induces change with the power of thought. Your first inclination may be to imagine the bibbidi-bobbidi-boo of simply thinking something and having it appear instantly. We'll talk more about that in the future, probably not so much in the novice stage. But please realize that many changes are induced by thought. I don't want to say all, because you can induce change without thought. But even changes that occur through many translations that we are more familiar with began as thought and or cognition. So thought induces change regardless of how instant it is, or even if it takes a while with many other conditions involved. one of the foundational conditions, especially for human magic, is often thought. The thought piece is going to be powerful no matter what the other elements in the condition recipe are. I want to acknowledge that everyone has a different relationship with thought. For example, a Gemini versus an Aries is going to have a different thought groove. Depending on chosen arts, they may be high thought arts or not. Again, there are so many versions of how thought can be engaged with, and all are cool. However, embodying the magician arcana is definitely going to reconnect you with your thoughts one way or another. And like I said, we'll open that methodically as we go along in the series. In this modern age, thought tends to be used machinistically, to solve things or to be factual. Thought in the modern age is also rather brutal and toxic. I know I have often felt at war with my thoughts, harmed by my thoughts, especially in my past before I healed. A lot of healing and spiritual paths are somatic and involve the release of thought, such as perhaps something like Zen Buddhism. And I'm all for this. Not everything needs to be about thought. I've practiced, and now I think only when I choose to and what I choose. On the other hand, when I was a little child, a little Gemini moon child, I remember I loved to think. Thinking was joyful and lighthearted and imaginative. Thinking for its own sake was play for me. I loved sitting and thinking, or thinking as I fell asleep. I would think more about books I'd read, maybe add more chapters after the ending. I'd think about people I'd met and wonder what they were doing now. I'd think about bugs I'd watched earlier and wonder how and why their really cool bodies formed. I'd formulate questions and wonder about answers. Sometimes I'd get revelations on life right then with my questions. Other times I was excited to wake up because I could read and study something and think about something and observe something some more. I hope as a magician you can begin again to live your thinking as living wonder. Each thought a little tiny sparkling gem within the chalice of you. Thought can be the doorway to being in wonder at life and earth. So I invite you to allow that, and I'm going to try to be more open to that too. I want to give you a homework assignment, and that is to read or reread 2 little books by Frances Hodgson Burnett. The most important one is called Little Princess, and another one is also called The Secret Garden. Much of how I have navigated life and come to know magic was ignited by these books. Both of them. But there is a very strong part of the Little Princess story that is about cognition and holding something within, and then it finds its way out. Because what is within definitely comes out. It is a beautiful, very beautiful part of the story that brought me so much wonder, and I've never forgotten how it affected me. Both of these stories have movies as well, but can't beat reading the books. All right, in the next video, I am going to map out the magical formula again, integrating what we've been learning since the last time I diagrammed it. So I'll see you then.